Let me switch gears a little bit to, in general, the topic that I think probably gave rise to some of the disagreements and acrimony that you and I have had over the years, which is the question of online censorship. And I want to leave that aside, at least for the moment, because I do think a lot of the issues that you've been raising, that I've been watching you raise, are ones that we cover a lot on this show as well. We cover in detail things like the Digital Services Act of the EU and the Online Safety Act in the UK, and the C11 and 12 bills in Canada, and ones in Australia and Brazil that are just outright state censorship and state control over the content of political speech on the internet. But one of the issues that you have been focused on that not many other people have is there's this, there's been this concern, and I think in some ways this concern is legitimate and valid, about the ability of children to access content online that is not appropriate, age appropriate for them. There's no barrier if a kid is online. And I have 3 kids, so I know very well the difficulty of controlling what they consume to be able to go to sites that you may not want them to go to. And so into this concern, this parental concern, this societal concern, the government in the UK and now others is stepping into this and saying, oh, we'll protect your kids. What we're going to have is age verification, and the way we're going to accomplish that, because there's been age verification that's just kind of self-reporting, and that doesn't work, is we're going to just require everybody who wants to use this site or this platform to upload documentation, identity cards proving their date of birth, which basically means turning over your identity to the government in order to use sites, meaning there's no more online anonymity. You have this article in The Guardian, you've written about it several times, we'll just put that on the screen, that you wrote a little bit. It says the UK's Online Safety Act is a license for censorship and the rest of the world is following suit. Explain this trend and why you consider it so dangerous.
I am horrified by this. I have been reporting on the rise of this sort of online censorship for years. What you mentioned is there's this sort of moral panic. Like after Trump's election around 2016, we started to see this flip. And ironically, also when algorithmic feeds sort of started to become pervasive, we saw this flip where I think people who had drunk the Kool-Aid on big tech throughout the early 2010s started to realize, like, okay, maybe some of these platforms aren't as great as we thought. Right? Like maybe they're doing some bad things and they deserve more oversight. Okay, that's all well and good. But what it sort of morphed into is a moral panic about the content. And, kids are consuming too much short form video, or a kid might access a porn site or whatever. And their response to this is not like, okay, we're going to do more to help parents. We're going to provide more user controls. We're going to, for users to set their own boundaries. We're going to like educate people, whatever. Also, we're also going to acknowledge that children, do need to grow up and that they need to eventually access some sort of information to become, healthy citizens in the world. Instead, we're saying exactly what you mentioned. This is this rollout of mass censorship, this crackdown, which is surveillance capitalism, where it's just like, hey, we're actually going to harvest all your biometric data, and now you have to face scan yourself to use Spotify. And it's all done under the guise of child safety. None of this is about child safety. In fact, we know that these laws actually endanger children. It cuts them off from valuable resources, and there is no way to ethically do there's no effective age verification system on the internet, but it inevitably cuts adults off from content. And what I think is so scary, I'll just say one more thing, Glenn, is that what we're seeing now in the US, because we haven't passed COSA yet, thank God, terrible legislation. We have 11 states right now that have age verification laws sort of up for discussion. But we're seeing pre-compliance. So we're seeing platforms like Meta and YouTube just say, well, look, now that this regulatory environment is a way where we can actually just roll out mass age verification, we're going to go ahead and do that. We'll harvest even more data. Seems like that's, we can sell it as like this safety thing. And so it's so scary because we're getting censorship without even passing the laws.
I guess there's 2 issues to me here. One is the issue of censorship of political content, the ability of big tech companies working in conjunction with the government to control the content of political content. But then there's also the question to me of online anonymity, which, and I guess, by the way, I also wanted to say, this is not a new problem. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. This is what was said about television, about music, that there's no control. This is, famously Al Gore's wife, Tipper Gore, wanted various warnings on music and to have like a kind of, regulator on music. kids would go into their parents' room and find pornography when they, became of age and past puberty. So none of this is new. And every time there's a new technology, kind of the same excuses are hauled out to give government control. So there's the control over the content, but then there's also the importance of online anonymity, which has been absolutely fundamental to why the internet is an important innovation. The fact that you can do things and say things online or look at things or explore things without being tracked by the government knowing exactly who you're doing. And this seems to be on this trend now to require, to basically eliminate online anonymity, to say if you want to use platforms, you're going to have to submit, your driver's license or birth certificate to us first.
I have talked about this a few times in interviews, but it remains the most disturbing moment in my career, and I've seen a lot of disturbing stuff over the years. I was at a big meeting, it was a big event last year for the White House Content Creators Day under the Biden administration. This was like last August or something. They had hundreds of content creators there in the room, and they had Jackie Aina, a big YouTube up, and it was her and Neera Tanden in conversation, talking about online harassment, which I'm very sympathetic to. I deal with a lot of it. It sucks. But she said, Neera Tanden at the end of it goes to the crowd, like, raise your hand if you wish you could like unmask every troll and we like remove anonymity from the internet. And all of these idiot content creators raised their hand. Yeah. She said, that's what we're going to do. That's what the Biden administration, we are going to remove anonymity from the internet. And I was in this little pool of journalists upstairs, and I turned to them and I was just so shocked. And none of them even seemed to care either, which is frustrating. They're not tech reporters, but this is something that is a bipartisan effort, and it is something that we need to fight tooth and nail to preserve, because without anonymity on the internet, there is no free speech on the internet. And this ridiculous moral panic about censorship is so corrosive and so dangerous. And I am scared that we are gonna lose free speech online.
Yeah, I remember Nikki Haley, when running in the GOP primary, created a big controversy when she said, we're going to end anonymity online and require identity for you to participate in social media. And, I get the impulse as well. I've been around for a long time. I've been attacked by all sorts of people, and, falsehoods circulated about me by anonymous people, and it's frustrating because you can't get at them. There's no accountability. But I also understand that most people, if they want to critique powerful institutions or question prevailing orthodoxies, can't do it under their own name because they're rightly worried about ramifications. And anonymity online, of course, that it was used during the debates over the Federalist Papers. It has a very long and noble history of people using pen names or fake names in writing. Is absolutely crucial to enabling most people to participate in an honest and free way in discourse. And I do think that large parts of the media and political elite care more about what they regard as the supreme harm of being criticized in a unreasonable or false or harassing way than they do about the importance of anonymity for most people and being able to participate online. And that's why it's hard to get people to be upset. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.